West Africa viewers, and welcome to Coffee with the Editor. There's a lot happening this year, and I believe this year is a turning point. What is your outlook?
Well, we've got some good initiatives on all the major lines, and then we're also going through a bit of a transformation in terms of our flexi business. For the coal line, for the ore line, we've got some good initiatives. Trim is also doing some major work on both lines. They'll be taking 2 occupations, maintenance occupations this year. We hope to see some improved reliability on the network after that. We've been challenged by both the coal and iron ore industries to see a bit of a jump in terms of the numbers. We're going to have record volumes, best ever numbers for manganese. Minerals, mining and chrome, also very excited. We've got some new initiatives there, trying to run some longer trains. Also going through a bit of a reorg. Just making sure that we have people where we need them. We want to make best use of the resources that we have, and that applies to the locomotives, to the wagons as well. We want to see if there's maybe some of the rolling stock that we can make available to other TOCs, whether through leaseco or any other form.
When we talk about the numbers, and we're going to see, I believe, an increase. You've just mentioned record-breaking numbers. What is your million tonnes?
We wanted to do 180 million tonnes. We're going to fall short of that. And we understand the reasons why. Our efforts are still to create capacity as quickly as we can. We'll see a significant improvement. I think 180 is a bit of a stretch in terms of the work that still needs to be done on the network, and us also building our capacity from a rolling stock point of view. And also, like I said, the optimization and making sure we've got people where we need them. Implement new planning functions and new technology, hopefully. We need to catch up with the rest of the world. It's not just about recovery all the time. You also have to aim a little bit higher and say, how do you get to what is best practice in the world? And we want to get back to that standard and not just recover all the time. I mean, can't be in recovery forever. We want to make use of artificial intelligence to help us with maintenance. Our maintenance for our rolling stock is based on time, and we changed that slightly now to look at usage. We want to move to condition-based maintenance, and that will save us a lot of money in terms of only replacing components on wagons specifically. If your running time, for instance, on a specific train is 24 hours, and it used to be 12 hours, it means you're only using the loco or the wagon half the number of times that you used before. But you're still maintaining according to the old time schedules that you had before. So that's really what we want to adjust to say. What you don't want to do is to say you move away from time-based or usage-based and you say only condition-based, and then you have major incidents. So we need to find a balance to say, how do we save money by making sure that you don't over-maintain, but you still have the reliability that you want and availability of the rolling stock when you need it. Class 1 railways, they use what they call super sites, where they take high-speed pictures of rolling stock as they pass by a certain point, and then compare that to the ideal state. So we've gone out to market to see what's the interest in that in South Africa and what sort of technology we can get into the country. We've got a young team of engineers, our technology management department, and the innovative ideas that they come up with, and you should really make sure that you harness that. So we're really excited about that, and it will help other TOCs as well. I think we need to reduce the number of incidents that we have on the network. So it's not just about the maintenance, it's also preventing incidents. So that's what we're trying to get to as well.
What kind of time frame are you looking at?
I would say in Q2 of the calendar year. Once we've made the decision, you then have to look at the sort of lead time that you have for these things.
So talk to me about the fleet.
So we've deployed up until now 71 of these locos. So they're in use, they give us good reliability on the network. Well, we have actually started cascading some of the 22Es to the chrome and magnetite flows. And then some of the older legacy fleet, we might start parking also, which have given us some reliability issues. The 23 is, originally I said that we'll deploy 90 locos, but it looks like we're going to deploy 102 of them in total on that specific line. The rest of them are running on the manganese line. What we intend to do is the entire AC section of the coal line, which is between Richards Bay and Ermelo, we only want to run with 23s. That would give us some good stability. help Transnet Engineering with the maintenance, and also our training with regards to crews. That will help them, because now we have standard fleet that we use for export, for coal export. You'll still have 22Es on some of the general freight traffic, but when it comes to coal exports, we want to standardize to 23Es on the AC portion of the coal line. We continue to optimize all the time. So if we see we're overcapacitated here, we move some locos from here to another area if we can see that we have a shortage. In modern railways, what you don't want is just locos being there for comfort. You want them to work hard. So it's a key part of our business going forward, especially in the new financial year, is that we can't have the assets where the locos or wagons idle. They're not moving the volumes when they're idle. They're not making money when they're idle, and they're not exporting or transporting commodities from origin to destination if they're standing still.
So let's go back to the commodities that you're moving, because are you going to be changing or increasing? I know we've gone from commodities to sectors to...
We're still business units.
Yes.
I don't think we're going to change that anytime soon, where we have the coal business unit. We have just started running on the new CTS line for Eskom to Majuba, and we're seeing some good numbers there. We're very encouraged by it, and we think there's room for further improvement there. We now have a direct line into Majuba Power Station. We have a significantly reduced running time and turnaround time. That would ultimately give us more volumes, and like I say, the past few weeks we've seen some very encouraging numbers with regards to that. We've got the other business units as well: manganese, iron ore, and then the magnetite and chrome under MMC. And then we have the flexi business unit, and the flexi business units, of course, general freight, cement, timber, and then there's the rest of the general freight. I think there's still room for growth on the grain side, containers as well, and then chemicals is the other one that we want to see if we can get some more volumes as well with the customers, to see if we can't unlock some additional volumes. We've had some proposals from them, and we want to build on that also with our sister OD Transnet Pipelines, to see what is on road currently and what can we bring back to rail.
This is the year that things are cemented down in terms of our 11 train operators coming on track. The operations are only envisaged, I think, in 2027. How does this now impact and change your business?
Well, it's something that we discuss with our teams, not only as an exco team, but also with our team members. Everybody on the shop floor, we need to be aware of the fact that now we're not a monopoly anymore. So we have to impress our customers. There's a lot more volume that can be moved on rail. And if other train operating companies come to add to the volumes and bring some of the volumes that we have on the road back to rail, we're happy about that. A lot of them have approached us. And where we can assist, we will assist them, definitely, because like I say, it's about getting more of what should be on rail back on rail. Obviously, as Transnet, we're trying to recover the volumes. We have had rail reform. I think what needs to be done also is that the supporting industry needs to be rebuilt. And when I say the supporting industry, it's the maintenance equipment, it's the on-track machines. You also need to rebuild that sort of capacity in South Africa. A lot of the machines that we have in South Africa for on-track maintenance are old. We also need academia to play their part, to say, how do we advance technology in the rail system in South Africa to catch up with the rest of the world? So I want them also to come with innovative ideas, to say, you have an issue here, let's look at it and see if we can't help you to solve it. Or how can we modernize this thing? So I don't think it's just for Transnet and TOCs to take the rail system. I think it's bigger than us. There are other stakeholders that also need to play a part in this if we are to get back to where we were before.
Your fleet now, excluding B fleet, how many locos do you have?
Active, we've just about got, I would say, just below 2,000 locos. And that includes legacy fleet.
If we look at volumes, potential volumes, the move from road back to rail, our 11 TOCs coming on board, is that enough?
For our current volumes and what we want to do the new financial year, it's certainly enough. Is it enough for the 250 million tons that the Minister has given us the target for 2030? I think we need some more locos. And it's not just me. You can speak to anybody in the industry. They'll tell you we need some additional locomotives to move and get us to 250 million tons.
You mentioned earlier on when we were talking that you were running longer trains. Are you doing that in the same vein as the 4-kilometre trains that you are known for running?
So when I say longer trains, not necessarily the same length as that.
Okay.
Some of it is incremental, and some of it is. We spoke before about the Eswatini trains that we want to run 160 wagon trains, and you asked me, and I said at the time that we've done the tests and there were some technical issues, which we've now resolved. There's still a little bit of work that we need to do on the infrastructure on South Africa's side, just with regards to signage and some vegetation issues. This is important if you run longer trains because you need to be clear about signage and stuff like that. And then also some incremental changes that we're making in terms of the 80 wagon trains. We've now moved to 84 wagon trains. Now 4 wagons doesn't sound like a lot, but if you analyze the numbers, you can see the numbers are significant. And we've done a test now for Chrome to Richards Bay, moving from a 75 wagon train to a 100 wagon train. And we also want to see if specifically on the coal line, we can combine trains to make them longer so that you can use the slot more effectively. Because if you run, for instance, a 75 wagon train and you can run and you can double that to 150, it means you're moving 2 trains in one slot. Those are the things that technology management team and the operations team that I spoke about earlier, guys are coming up with innovative ideas to do things differently. And also when you engage stakeholders, I must say the industry customers, they're also full of ideas, and we take all the input and we go back and see if it can work and we give them feedback. So we don't profess to know everything.
Running double trains on the coal line, how's that going to impact like wear and tear on the train?
We've got a team that tells you, okay, these are the limitations. So this is the maximum length of train that you can run. They do the testing beforehand. We have to submit to the RSR our test results, and you have to operate within certain parameters. Now with trim as well, they need to satisfy themselves that it's safe. So we look at, for instance, what's the maximum power of the locomotive, and then you say, okay, what are the test results? What do we need to change until we get to within those parameters? And once you've got those results, you go back to RSR and say, we've done the test, it's proven to be effective, we want to implement, and then they approve or not.
When do you think you're going to officially start operations with Eswatini?
Do a lot of volumes on that Golela line down to Richards Bay. But we want to do more.
What about the rest of our neighbours?
We continue with discussions with Botswana. I think Transnet, we're not really getting going there in terms of getting additional volumes, and it's maybe a discussion that we need to have with Desmond and the team to see how do we get the trains running there again, and I'm talking about freight trains. And then also on the Maputo side, there we also want to implement some longer trains first, the 84 wagon train. But there's some risk assessments that we have to do with them. In our discussions with them, they have now bought some additional locos. So we might run a hybrid system in terms of trains turning around at Komati and some of them running through as they continue to build their capacity. We think there's a lot of opportunity for growth to Maputo. We've also busy with an initiative where with the recent washaways that they've had, to see how we can assist them with some of the volumes that come via bike breach, just to help them through this period while they repair the line. These are our neighbours. We need to see what we can do to help them.
As a train operator now, you're going to obviously be impacted by the same infrastructure issues that all the other 11 TOCs are going to be impacted by. The only difference I really believe is that you are already aware of what those challenges are innately, like intimately, you know what those challenges are. What is your advice and what are your thoughts and for industry, but also for your own team?
Trim is working very hard to try and improve the network. The network is not where it should be, and I think if you just look at the maintenance activities, with specifically now talking on the coal line and the ore line, where we've had some severe incidents in the recent past. Where they see a safety risk, they impose speed restrictions and all sorts of warnings. And I think train operating companies should just take note of those and make sure that you comply with those. If you look at, everybody wants those two networks to improve. I mean, you have reasonable stability on other networks, but I think those two, they've done the two technical assessments on the coal line and on the ore line, and I think government has also assisted them a lot in terms of making available funding to then repair those networks. Trim's got some good people, and I have faith that they will restore the network. And I think, as Theo says, we just need to make sure that we stay close to Trim in terms of communication and adhering to the requirements that they said, and also the limitations in terms of what can be done on the network.
In closing, anything you want to say?
All I can say is that we're excited. We can see the confidence not only from our customers but also in our people. In terms of where we're going as an organization. The young team, if you discuss these things with them, and they've got these new ideas using apps and using all sorts of dashboards and so on, everybody's excited. And we want to keep regaining some of the volumes that we've lost. I think this new financial year, the 26-27 financial year, is going to be a good one for us.